Well, thanks for listening to the LCR Media Podcast, where we get to know the pros. I'm your host, LCR Naylor Taliaferro, and on today's IBG episode, I want to touch base. I want to talk about, again, some mulch. Now, I know a previous episode, I kind of went into a whole rabbit hole of mulch, probably about an hour-long episode, but that was more about technique and tools and resources and kind of my whole mindset around mulch and how I, the type of clients and how I market it and just the whole evolution of that in my business. This episode, I want to talk a little bit more about equipment and the ideal setup, in my opinion, in my mind, based off of the evolution of my setup through my business and everything that I've seen locally with my peers and mentors, as well as over the many years, over 8 years on social media, looking at all the different setups with the evolution of setups in and of themselves, the different types of equipment that's now come out for mulch specifically to help make it easier, because we know how labor intensive it really is. So let's get into it. So, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that if you don't already know where I'm going with this, there is a friend of mine named Nick Carlson who owns Dawson Manufacturing, who has been cranking out product after product to help save your back and your labor so that you can be more efficient and more productive. And ultimately, that means more profitable when it comes to laying down mulch. Every year, mulch season is kind of a bear for most people. No matter how you want to put it, it's labor intensive. Mulch by default is a very exhausting, labor intensive service to provide. It looks great when it's done. It really transforms any property and beautifies the property, whether it's just freshening up the property or starting from scratch. Maybe there's never any mulch on a particular property, or you've created a brand new mulch bed in an area where there wasn't mulch for one reason or another. You put that mulch down, have some nice edges, put the mulch down, and it just pops. It looks really great. It looks really good. So it really, and it also, in addition to it being aesthetically pleasing and beautifying, contributing to beautifying someone's property, it also has benefits for the plants. If there's any plants in the mulch bed, whether it be a tree, multiple trees, bushes, shrubs like, boxwoods and different shrubs like that, hollies, or plants, flowers, all that. So what mulch does is it helps retain the water, keeps the weeds out to a certain extent. Weed seeds are still kind of blow in there. And as the mulch starts to break down, it starts to become a little more dirt than wood chips. And, weed seeds will kind of get down in the cracks there and start to germinate and grow. So you will still have weeds come up, but it definitely helps create a weed barrier to a certain extent. Especially when you're putting down fresh mulch every year. There's obviously things you can do, like putting down, I'm opposed to putting down weed fabric first, and then you put the mulch down, just because the weeds end up growing, like in the fabric. It just really doesn't, it ends up just being a mess. It doesn't stop the weeds at all. It maybe slows down the process, prevents them a little bit more, but it's a lot more labor intensive and more expensive for the folks, the homeowners or whoever, companies, businesses that are paying for that, for you to put the mulch down. So it's really not, not even worth, in my opinion, in my experience, even doing that. I've ripped up so many old mulch beds and installed new mulch beds with fabric, and ripped up so many old mulch beds with fabric that was just littered with weeds. It's ridiculous. Just peeling it all up, and then it's like, wow, the bed is great. Like, the bed underneath it is actually weed free. It's all nice fresh soil, and if there was any mulch there before, it was all broken down, and it's basically like a nice compost pile, great for gardening, right? But there was tons of weeds on top of that on the weed fabric. So it's kind of like an oxymoron, and I'm sure that stuff was there old, long time ago, whatever. It took a while for all that. But anyway, I personally believe putting down a product such as Preen, which is like a pre-emergent that you can put in your flower beds, your mulch beds, you sprinkle it in there and it kind of, and water it in, or if it's about to rain, it'll water that in. And that is like a pre-emergent for, you put pre-emergent down in your lawn to help, spring weeds like crabgrass and a lot of other popular weeds from germinating and growing in the spring to help keep your lawn weed free. You can do the same thing for your mulch beds with a different product than what you would use in the lawn, which a name brand is called Preen. So if you were to Google that, you'll see that brand, and then you'll probably a lot of other recommended brands. But you can just go to any big box store or any horticulturist store, nursery, anywhere that sells any kind of plants, trees, grass, mulch, dirt, any of that kind of outdoor land / yardscaping, gardening type products should have some sort of pre-emergent that you can put in the flower beds and the mulch beds to help keep the weeds at bay. And this is something you have to do regularly. It's not like a one and done thing, just like mulch. Mulch, if you have dyed mulch, which is my preferred, dyed brown or black, there's red, but I've done that once in my life, like year one, and it's awful. It's a mess. It doesn't really look that good. Most people don't get red or even know red exists. So, but it's there anyway. I don't want to alienate anybody or hurt anyone's feelings. It's there. But black and brown being the most preferred color, used color. Black is again the second most. So those two colors are dyed, and it's shredded mulch. It's like local for me. For here, it's local Virginia trees that are shredded up, and that's that's what you get. Then they dye it all, and that's what you get. It's supposed to be safe dye, like food coloring type based dye where it's non-toxic and so on. But that only lasts about a year. If you get really good quality dyed mulch and you put it down properly, give 24 to 48 hours for it to dry and set before a downpour or anything like that. Like I said in the last episode, don't put it down in the rain or before the rain, because then it's all going to wash away on you, on the hard surfaces, and it's just going to be this dried up looking light brown. It's just going to look like wood, like the raw wood, shredded trees. And that's not what the customer is paid for, because it's more expensive to buy dyed mulch than like a triple shredded double shredded mulch that's more fine, shredded up twice, as much. So it's smaller, finer, and it's not dyed. So it looks nice and brown when you first put it down, but it fades really quick. It also breaks down really fast. That's kind of more for the people that are looking for just, a spruce up of their natural areas, and they really, really just want it more for the water retention. They've got a lot of plants and water retention for that, and help keep some of the weeds at bay. That's for like more gardening and folks like that want to be super natural. But for aesthetics, you want the colored, the dyed mulch in addition to all of the other benefits. So, but again, if you don't do that every year, if you don't freshen it up at least every year, you don't have to put a ton down, 2 to 3 inches down every year. You can just kind of spruce up some areas, put down a light, 1 inch to a half inch, which is basically you're just sprinkling the mulch over an area just to cover it, just to cover the old mulch, to give it that freshened up look with the new darker, brown or black color, because it's going to fade over time, but it usually lasts most of the year if you get the good quality mulch. So just like that, you're going to need to weed your mulch beds too. So putting down weed fabric and putting down preen or whatever, that's going to help slow down and prevent the process, but it's not going to eliminate it. It has to be a regular reoccurring maintenance that you have to do. Anyway, I digress. My point is, mulch is really a labor-intensive service. We should probably all know that if you're listening to this podcast. That's no surprise. But if you're brand new and you're listening to this podcast, just know that it is labor-intensive. You can hurt yourself, like your back and your lower back. You got to make sure you're doing proper things. Bending with your legs and lifting with your legs and not lifting with your back, and using your arms to scoop and lift, and just keeping your back as straight as possible, maybe even getting a back support brace, lumbar support, things like that. I mean, that's real stuff that a lot of people that are doing a lot of mulch do to help protect their muscles and their back so that they don't mess themselves up, because you're shoveling a lot of material over the course of a day after day after day after day, and that adds up. Like the average 1 yard of mulch is like 100+ pounds of a yard of mulch. And so, I mean, if you're shoveling 10 yards of mulch, at a job that has 10 yards of mulch, that's 1,000 pounds, give or take, if it's dry or wet or whatever, that you're shoveling. That's a lot if you think about it. Like, man, that's a lot of work. So back to what I was saying, there's a lot of great tools and resources out there to help make that easier for you. I talked a little bit about like more of the hand tools and things like that, and went into a little bit of this on the other episode, but I really wanted to focus on like the major equipment setup. And like I said, Nick Carlson with Dawson Manufacturing has come out with a lot of great things. Most notably, Mulchmate was the first piece of equipment he came out with. This is a massive unit that you put, you take the door or doors off of your dump truck, the back of your dump truck, and you put, or now your dump trailer, and you put actually his dump trailer, his dump mate, and you put this Mulchmate on that. It takes the place of the door. It swings, it's on hinges, so it swings open and clips to the side if you need to dump, any debris out and things like that aren't obviously going to go through the Mulchmate. But when you have material like dirt, rocks, mulch, and you need to disperse that into whether it be a top dresser, like a top dresser buggy or power. I don't even remember what the actual technical term is or word for that is, but there's a couple of brands out there that have a powered buggy, top dresser, basically, like, instead of a wheelbarrow, it's like, it's similar to a wheelbarrow. It's hard to explain. I'm fumbling my words, but for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm trying to break it down, but it's on fairly large wheels. It's got a motor, an engine, and it's basically a large spreader, but it's able to spread dirt so that you can top dress lawns, which, put compost and things down, which is really good for the soil. That's going to get the grass nice and green and get a lot of good nutrients into the soil, in addition to fertilizer and things like that are traditionally used with products. This is a more natural way to get some good bacteria and things going into the soil that's going to help create the best conditions for the grass and plants. People put a lot of compost in their gardens for their plants and things like that. But you can do the same thing for your lawn. Well, when you have a decent sized lawn, you can't do it the same way that you would do in a garden. So you need some larger machine, like a top dresser, motorized top dresser or whatever I think it's called. And so whether you have that, or you have manual wheelbarrows, or you have CartMate, which Dawson Manufacturing also made, which is a large wheelbarrow, basically, that you attach to the front of any mower. You just have to get a universal hitch, which I believe I've all talked about this before, so there's a little overlap if you already listened to that episode, but that's fine. Just want to make sure I cover all the bases. There's different hitch receivers for different mowers, different models, and there's a brand called Detach, DTTACH. I have no sponsorship or affiliation with them, but you need to have a hitch receiver that they have. And there might be some other brands out there now that have that as well, some other like third parties. So Nick didn't bother to create anything like that because it already exists. He just created CartMate that you can attach to the right receiver for your specific mower. You can have multiple ones for multiple mowers and multiple CartMates if you have a lot of mulch and a lot of large crew or multiple crews and you need more than one of them. But basically you're driving the mulch around with your mower instead of pushing it. So especially if you're going up hills and long distances, it's a game changer. I own a CartMate. It's one of the first things that I got when it first came out. I got it within the first few months or so after it came out to get ready for my mulch season. And it's a game changer because I've got a lot of hills, a lot of long distances. I have properties where there's 10 or more yards of mulch that have to be spread. So I just get it delivered and dumped because I don't have a dump truck or a dump trailer or anything that would even hold 10 or more yards of mulch. So it's just easier to, it's like a $50 delivery fee, anything over 5 yards, and just have the place where I get mulch anyway, just have them deliver it to the property and they just dump it on the street or the driveway, depending on the scenario and the logistics of it and what's going to be the closest, more central location to go back and forth. And we do that. So there is a lot of back and forth. So using the cart mate's going to save our feet and our energy to be going back, driving back and forth, dumping pile after pile after pile of mulch to be able to spread in all the beds. So that's a game changer there. I got that. He came out with that. So regardless of what you're using, cart mate or, the top dresser or regular wheelbarrows or any other kind of buggies or whatever you have, you go up to the mulch mate, back to the mulch mate. And what that does is conveys the material out of your dump truck or the dump trailer that Dawson Manufacturing came up with in partnership with a trailer company. And now they have Dump Mate, their own specific dump trailer. We'll get back to that in a second. But so you have your mulch mate attached to whichever one of those two things you have, Dump Mate or dump truck, and you just push a lever down or a button, whatever is the latest update. Pull the lever, push a button, whichever, and whatever side you're on, so you can have one on either. You can be on either side or both. If you have multiple people trying to load up, make it faster. You just, whatever side you're on, you push the button or pull the lever, and it conveys that material into from where the truck or the trailer into the mulch mate, and it just conveys it outside. So there's a tarp actually that pulls it towards the mulch mate, and then the conveyor system has it go outside the side right into your wheelbarrow. It's the perfect size. It's narrow, so everything just shoots right into the wheelbarrow when you have it properly lined up, or the cart mate or whatever you're using. And this way you're never shoveling anything. So when you have, so only unless you have it dumped in the street or something that you still have to shovel. There's no shovel mate or anything like that. Maybe that'll be a new thing. I don't know. Probably not, because it doesn't make sense with everything he's got going on. The whole point is to eliminate pushing a wheelbarrow and shoveling. Those are the two main things that he's eliminated with all of these things, with mulch mate, cart mate. There's a truck mate, which is a smaller version of that, which I now own. I got that last mulch season at the time of the recording of this. This is my second season using truck mate, which is just a smaller version for a pickup truck. So instead of a dump truck, if you have a heavy duty pickup truck like I do, I've got a Ram 3500, so it's got pretty good payload on the back. You can put over 7,000 pounds in the bed. Payload is also the weight of your passengers in the truck, but there's usually just one or two guys with me at any given time when we're doing mulch, so that's not a whole lot, a few hundred pounds on top of that. But basically, you're getting over 7,000 pounds basically just in the bed of the truck. So I can fit, and the truck can manage weight-wise 4 yards of mulch. So I build up sides. I've got some big wood sides that I put on the side of the truck and everything, and I basically kind of build it out to be like a dump bed insert, but it doesn't dump. It's just the sides just stay there. I have truck mate. I pull the tarp out, it lays down in the bed of the truck. The mulch goes on top. You fold the conveyor part of the truck mate down, and you just go ahead and put your wheelbarrows or your cart mates, which I have both. I only have one cart mate, so I still have some wheelbarrows. There are still some small areas that it's beneficial to have the smaller wheelbarrow to still have, to be able to get into the back of a bed so you can access it easier than going from then stopping at the front of the bed with the cart mate and having to kind of walk all over back and forth with a scoop here and a scoop there of mulch. So it is still beneficial to have a smaller wheelbarrow to get in there. But with that being said, they just came out with Cartmate RS, which is a one-wheeled smaller version of Cartmates, Cartmate RS. So it's also it's more affordable for folks that can't or don't want to spend for the bigger Cartmate Pro, the big one with the two wheels and all decked out. So you get the smaller one, so, you can put less mulch in it, and it's got one wheel. So ultimately, overall, it's smaller, which is also good if you only have a smaller mower, right? If you've got a small, 36-inch stand-on mower or sit-down ride-on mower, putting the big Cartmate Pro on there and filling that thing up to the top, it might be a little bit of a struggle to move that around weight-wise with a smaller mower, because it's got a smaller engine, smaller hydraulic pumps and things like that. So just the drive system just doesn't really move that much material around as well. So if you get a smaller one like the Cartmate RS, not only is it a little more affordable for some folks, especially if they're just starting out, but you can put less material in it. So when you fill it up, it's less material. And so you can still move it around easier with a smaller mower, and you can get into other areas of beds easier with the smaller CartMate RS than the CartMate Pro. And you can actually more easily detach the CartMate RS if you do want to get a little bit further into a bed or into the back of a bed with it. You just drive right up, detach it real quick, wheel it right over there, dump, and then hook it back up to the mower and go reload. So those are some really cool things that they've come out with and are continuing to come out with.
Do you want to save time and energy while increasing profits? Make your truck do the work with TruckMate. TruckMate attaches to any standard pickup truck hitch with no modifications. Remove the tailgate and turn your truck into a material dispensing monster. With the push of a button, you can pull material like mulch, stone, and topsoil from the truck bed and convey it in either direction directly into a wheelbarrow in seconds. Now you can have one man take one truck to knock out some of the small jobs in no time. The conveyor can also be removed from the tarp roller, allowing you to unload any material right onto the ground. This could be handy for dumping debris or firewood deliveries. TruckMate can pull more weight than even your truck can hold. Plus, you can still attach a plate-mounted hitch to pull a trailer if needed. Think of all the year-round uses for this truck attachment to make your business more productive and save your back in the process. This is perfect for small residential lawn and landscape businesses. Head over to mulchmateusa.com and save $400 on TruckMate with the promo code LCR. And of course, the link will be in the show notes. LCR not only uses the TruckMate, but he gives it his highest endorsement.
So I use my TruckMate for that. Like I said, it's the same concept as the Mulchmate. You push the button on whatever side you're on, and the conveyor goes in the direction of where the button is that you pushed, and it just conveys that. The tarp, the same exact thing, pulls the mulch towards the back of the truck, falls into the conveyor on the back, and then just shoots right into the wheelbarrows or the CartMates and fills them up super fast and easy. Less energy to be shoveling, getting up in the truck and shoveling, or dumping it on the street or the driveway and shoveling. It's just very time consuming and labor intensive, which slows you down with everything. You get to the bed and you're slower spreading it. You're walking slower back and forth, pushing the wheelbarrow. So all these things are meant to save your back, save your energy, so you can get more done, be more efficient. Obviously, that adds to what? More profit. And especially as the labor market just gets harder and harder. A few years ago, I think it's been now 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe at the time of the recording of this podcast, when Mulchmate first came out, and then they just started coming out with more and more things. The labor market has always been a struggle for any kind of blue collar work, any outdoor construction, lawn landscape, all that is very labor intensive, and it's always been a challenge to find and keep good people for sure. But now, coming, 2 years into / through, it's not really over yet. The pandemic, the whole COVID pandemic and everything, from 2020 to 2022, we're now in the beginning of 2022 at the time of the recording of this podcast. And it's really hard to find and keep good people. It's a whole nother thing that I won't even go into, that's not what this episode's about. But if you know, if you're in the moment listening to this, or you lived it when you listen to this, whenever you listen to this episode, so it's getting harder and harder. So the more equipment, machines, tools that we can find to kind of make everyone's job easier, and dare I say even replace some jobs, then the better, because we can't find people to begin with and or keep them. So we can rely on equipment as much as we take care of them, and things are still going to happen. But the better we treat our equipment, the better, the longer they're going to last, and less problems we're going to have. But they're always going to show up every day. They're not going to have problems. They're not going to call out. They're not going to be sick. They're not going to have personal drama. They're just going to be there, and we get the job done with them, and it's going to be easier. So like a job so for mulch, normally, a job that would take 2, 3 guys, one person could do it. If they've got a Mulchmate or a TruckMate and a CartMate, one person can do the job in almost the same amount of time as 2 or 3 guys with less energy. So it's really saving time and energy, and ultimately doing what? Increasing your profits. So that's what it's all about. So I have TruckMate because I saw the benefits. I said this on Instagram today. last 2 years ago, before I got TruckMate, I had just gotten my truck that I have now. We put 4 yards of mulch in there, had the sides up and everything, put 4 yards in there, started that whole idea with that, but I didn't have TruckMate. It had just come out, and I was like, man, that would be sweet to have TruckMate. But I didn't, it was too soon and all that, and I didn't, wasn't able to invest in that yet. So we just did the old-fashioned way, good old shoveling out of the truck, just like you would shovel out of a trailer if you don't have a dump trailer. A lot of guys do that, right? We'll get into that. But we were just shoveling out of the truck. It was easy when you first open up the truck, because the back of the truck, lower the tailgate down and, all that. And I have a wood door, at the top part to keep all the mulch contained in there. So you open that up, fold down the truck bed, and boom, half of it would just start falling out anyway. So you just line the wheelbarrows up, and so that most of the mulch will hopefully fall in the wheelbarrows. And then from then on, you just start pitchforking it in there. You're not even really scooping. You're just kind of breaking it, like pulling it down, like scraping it, knocking it down, basically just knocking at it, chipping away at it with the pitchfork, and it just falls out very easily until you kind of get like a foot or so in. Then you have to start actually scooping it. Then you have to get into the truck every time and start loading up wheelbarrows. Then you try and be productive and get a couple of wheelbarrows lined up at one time, time it properly, and scoop. And the deeper you get into the 8-foot bed truck that I have, the long bed, the more steps back and forth, scooping and dumping, and it just gets more and more exhausting. And then we would switch guys out, because I would get exhausted, whoever was doing it after me or whatever before me gets exhausted. So we're alternating, trying to spread the energy out, the workload out, so that we can all stay as fresh as possible to get the job done. And we got a lot done, but what I remember is I had to have more people, and it was labor intensive, and we were all exhausted at the end of the day. Then last year I got TruckMate. I had 2 less people last year by design. I decided not to hire up last year. Maybe, maybe it wasn't the wisest decision with everything going on, but I didn't know it was going to be this mass walkout pandemic of people not wanting to work anymore and starting their own businesses or whatever the deal is, combination of so many things. That again, like I said, I won't go down and divulge into that rabbit hole, but I decided to not hire more people for mulch season, and I got TruckMate. So while that's a bigger one-time investment, it pays off over time, year after year, because you're saving in payroll and energy and getting things done quicker. So you're making more profits. The quicker you get things done, the more money you're making, and so on. So I got TruckMate, and no more do we have to climb into the truck or any of that kind of stuff, or shovel. It just conveys right into the initial break off when you first open everything up. Still, it's going to kind of spill out a little bit, and once you get through that first layer of the wall there, break that down, then you can just start conveying it like normal, and it just starts falling in there, and the tarp pulls it to the edge, and it falls down onto the conveyor and shoots into the wheelbarrows and CartMate, and you just keep doing that. Boom, 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 4 yards. And I have a lot of, just to put this into perspective, I have a lot of cookie cutter HOA yards for those of you hearing this for the first time or never caught that in previous episodes. Like 5 to 10,000 square foot. I do like grass wise yards, but again, that really doesn't mean anything compared when you're talking about mulch. There could be, large, 15,000 square foot grass yards that have a few, mulch beds, like 2 or 3 yards worth of mulch. Then you've got some 5,000-6,000 square foot grass properties that have, 8 yards worth of mulch. So it's kind of all over the place. You can never really predict it. It's just about what, I think every house starts off with just like a few beds in the front to look pretty and a couple trees and things like that. And then from there, it's up to the homeowner to do what they want to do in the backyard and all that. Maybe they're, put a patio in and creating like a whole backyard oasis. So you never know what you're going to get. You can't go based on the size of the yard. But I have a lot of, it goes hand in hand for me, though. I do have a lot of smaller yards, grass wise, that also only have 3 or 4 yards of mulch. So sometimes I can get a couple yards done in that one load of 4. And when they're on the same street, because of that route density, right? many episodes talking about that in the podcast. You can just search that after this. And on my YouTube channel at Lawn Care Rookie, you could just search up route density, lots of content there. But because it's just one of many more benefits of route density, it affects every service, not just cutting grass. So when you're spreading mulch, especially when you've got a dump trailer, or a dump truck, or in my case, an 8-foot truck bed with 4 yards of mulch with the sides up, a dump insert or whatever in the back of your truck with sides up, and you're hauling the mulch from place to place. Now route density really, versus having it dumped somewhere, now you're really being efficient because you're going from yard to yard with the same load potentially. So if I've got 2 yards on the same street or in the same general neighborhood where I don't really have to drive more than 5 minutes maybe to the next property, one might need 1 yard, one might need 3 yards of mulch, or one might need 2 yards, the other one might need 2 yards, or one might need 4 yards. And we're just there for a couple hours just on that one property, just emptying the whole truck. But again, we're using TruckMate, so it's super fast and efficient. We save our backs and have more energy to increase what? Our profits. Exactly. So that's what we did last year, and it was amazing. It was me and 2 guys instead of me and 3 or 4 guys, whatever it was. I think it was 4 guys at one point. Again, that comes in handy when you got the bigger jobs that are, 10, 20 yards of mulch just plopped on the street or something, that obviously you still got to chip away at that the old fashioned way. But when you use CartMate, it makes it easier. This year I got the Mulch Force, Toro's Mulch Force attachment that goes on my Toro Grandstand Multi-Force. So I bought the Multi-Force a couple years back, and I've been getting attachments. Some I bought, some Toro has gifted me to use for my business, and in exchange for providing content for you guys to help you guys make your decisions for if that makes sense for your business and you want to buy those things for yourself. And so Mulch Force is the newest addition to the lineup of attachments for the Toro Multi-Force. Came out last year. I didn't get it in time. I do my mulch real early and get it out the way before mowing starts, so I'm not doing 2 different labor-intensive things. I get it out the way and I'm done. So by the time it came out, I was like wrapping up the season. I'm like, I couldn't use it. There was no point. So this year I was able to use it right away, as soon as we start with mulch, and I've been using that. So that and CartMate is like, now I've got 2 different efficient, wheelbarrow alternatives that I can use on one property. Like, it's amazing. So, and I only have 1 guy now. I had 2 guys last year and I have 1 guy. So my 1 guy and I can knock out, we just had a 20-yard job, or 2 houses in the same cul-de-sac. One had like 8 or 9 yards of mulch that they needed. The other one had like 11 or 12 or whatever. I'm not a mathematician, but it added up to 20 yards total. So I had 20 yards of brown dyed mulch dumped in the cul-de-sac, off to the side in front of one of their yards where they've got a nice spot where space that doesn't get in the way of people driving around the circle and whatnot. And just dumped it there, and we chipped away at it. It took us a day and a half. We probably could have got it done in one day if we started at 8 a.m. and we were on our game, but it was the first time I was using the Mulch Force, first time he was using the CartMate, so there's a little bit of learning curve there. And, we didn't start as early as I wanted to, and just whatever, one thing after another. So, but the ultimate thing was, it was super efficient. It wasn't didn't take him that long to learn CartMate, didn't take me that long to learn the Mulch Force. But even while we were learning, we weren't walking back and forth. So we were getting from place to place faster by moving everything with the mowers, riding back and forth, and saving our energy so that it helped us not be exhausted by the end of the day. So we could keep up a steady pace throughout the entire day. So it did carry into the next day, but we got it done by lunchtime. So, for 2 guys, I don't know about you, that's pretty good. My rule of thumb has always been, wherever I learned this from, I don't know if I read it somewhere or heard it somewhere or someone locally told me or whatever, but typically a good rule of thumb is 1 yard of mulch should take 1 man-hour to spread. So if you're by yourself and you've got 4 yards of mulch to spread, it should take you 4 hours. Now, obviously, there's other variables that are going to sway that one way or the other. There might be some 4-yard jobs that take you 3 hours because it's all flat. They're all close to the mulch. Close to where your mulch is, whether you have it delivered or it's in your truck or trailer or whatever. So you're just super short trips back and forth from mulch to bed. It's flat or downhill even. So you're just kind of smoking through it all and you kind of blow through it. And there's a lot of wide open beds. So you can do a lot of dumping and spreading versus a lot of bushes and trees that you have to tediously kind of sprinkle here, there, and get in between everything and all that kind of stuff. Those kind of perfect conditions, you can blow through it faster than 4 yards. There's the opposite of that. It's all uphill and there's bushes and plants and trees all over the place that you got to get in between. And you can only get the wheelbarrow or the cart mate or whatever so close. And you're doing a lot of walking back and forth and so on. Now you're pushing 5 hours for that 4 yarder. Because you're exhausted, you're wearing yourself out, you're moving slower, whatever. So, but on average, it's 1 hour per yard is what I've always heard. And that's usually what happens when, I track my time. I mean, I use Service Autopilot. So the job's already scheduled. It's in there on the app. You click start job, tells you how long it should take you, again, based on how many yards, X amount of man hours, however many people are working with you, divides it all, does the math for you, tells you it should take you 2 hours or an hour or whatever. 4 hours if you're by yourself with 4 yards. If you got 2 people, it should take you 2 hours, right? 2 people for 2 man hour, so that'll be 4 hours, right? 2 people for 2 hours. That's 2 times 2. That's 4 man hours. So now you're still at your quota. If you have 4 yards, you got 2 guys, it should take you 2 hours. You're done. So anyway, when you click start and stop, you see how long it took you. You can see how long it's taking you throughout the job if you look at it. So I do that all the time. But at least when I finish the job and hit stop job, I see how long it took, and it's either in the red or it's not, and I know if we're good on time. So typically, on average, we are still following that 1 hour per yard. Anyway. Another digression there, just to break that down for you guys, where I got that from and what it means and all that, in case you didn't know that. Anyway, so if you are doing it all the hard way and the manual way, you're going to slow down over time and all that. So I think the whole point of me saying, the hours of how long it's supposed to take for your mulch. Oh, that's right. Okay. Woo. Channeling my inner Caleb Allman there. Back on track. I was saying, we'll say 10, 11 hours, maybe 12 hours max, a day and a half, right? We'll say 12 hours. I don't remember exactly what it was, but let's just say 12 hours to get 20 yards done. It's probably a little bit longer, right? 20 yards for 2 people should have taken 10 hours, right? 10 man hours. So if it took us 12 man hours, we're a little over by 2 hours. But again, like I said, some learning curve with the new equipment that we were using and so on. And, customers come talk to you, this and that, whatever. You get stopped. When you're there that long, other people came over. Hey, can you give me a quote for my mulch? I'm like, yeah, sorry. We only spread mulch for our regular, maintenance clients. We don't just do random, one-time mulch jobs, or even if it's every year you want me to do your mulch, but that's all you want me to do. That's not what we do. You have to be a regular client. We have to mow your lawn, treat your fertilize your lawn, spray the weeds, all that kind of stuff. Then we'll do the other things like mulch, trim your shrubs and all that. I've talked about this in other episodes before as well, but that's my mindset with that. So I had to explain that to some folks. Nice enough. I mean, yeah, that's great. Another 10 yards of mulch, but guess what? I already have my regular clients all on schedule, and my schedule's full. We got to get all this done before mowing starts. So the more of those jobs I take on, the more it impedes my life, my time with my family, my employees' time, and so on, as well as potentially postpone and our mowing schedule and mess up my regular clients, expectations of, hey, we're going to be out mowing on Thursday, every Thursday. Oh, now it's Friday because we're behind because we had to finish your random neighbor's mulch job. That's not even a regular customer. Like I've been there, done that. That's over. I'm done. Cut. That's over with that. So, but you got to talk to those people still, whatever. So anyway, so we went over a little bit on time, but still, I think that's pretty good. If we had to do that by hand with, pushing wheelbarrows, it probably would have taken 15 hours or something. We would have just gone way over our time.
Toro's brand new battery-powered Revolution Series products are changing the lawn care industry. With all-day runtime from the innovative HyperCell battery system, you can expect to power through your entire day, every day. Head to revolution.toro.com to see how Toro is transforming the game with the latest equipment innovations, or click the link tree in the episode description to get you there fast.
A lot of great tools, a lot of great resources there. DumpMate is the newest one. Said I was going to get back to DumpMate. DumpMate's the newest one. So that is where Nick collaborated with a trailer company to create a custom dump trailer that could use the MulchMate properly, right? So not every dump trailer comes in the same shape, size, and so on. So it was hard for him to make any kind of customizations for MulchMate for a dump trailer because there's so many varieties of them. So what he decided to do is just make one specific dump trailer that works with the MulchMate. So now people can just buy the specific dump trailer. If you already have a dump trailer, then that sucks. I get it. You just can't use the MulchMate. But if you need another dump trailer, or you haven't even gotten one yet and you want to get one, get the DumpMate. Get the specific dump trailer if you're going to use MulchMate anyway, get the specific dump trailer. And even not, it's still a great trailer as soon as you hear me finally get to the details of it. But get the DumpMate dump trailer because it goes with the MulchMate. So why that is because it's designed with so many things. There's all the hydraulics that lift the dump bed, so that you can dump things like a normal dump trailer. That still exists. So if, throughout the year, if you've got loads you got to dump, leaves, debris, all that, you can still do that. You can swing the MulchMate over to the side. Got a specific spot to clip it because it's made for that. So you can dump it, whatever, and then you swing the MulchMate back and close it, latch it up, and you're good to go. But the hydraulics also are connected to a lift mechanism for the entire trailer. So it lifts the whole trailer up from the tires. Like if you look at the separation between like the wheel well fender and the wheels themselves, there's a big gap. I think it's 14 inches or something like that. I think it raises up. So it significantly raises up so that you can fit anything underneath the MulchMate, because one of the issues, even if you have a dump trailer that the MulchMate does fit on, which is the majority of them, but it's still too low for you to get anything underneath to convey it into the wheelbarrow, cartmate, or whatever you have properly. So it defeats the purpose of even having a MulchMate if you can't even use it properly. I know guys were like, they had a dump trailer, they have dump trailers. I don't know if they were doing that with their MulchMate or they were just doing that in general. They because some of the dump trailers line perfectly right up to the wheelbarrow that they had, and if they have a big wheelbarrow, then it's too high, and they want to be able to just scoop it, slide it right into the wheelbarrow. You want the wheelbarrow to be like just underneath the lip of the trailer, so that you can just kind of slide and scoop right in there, so you're not doing as much. You don't have to lift up over and all that. Again, trying to save your energy so you can be more efficient, more productive, and do what? Increase your profits, right? So I know some people would have wood blocks or ramps or whatever to back up or pull the dump trailer up just to raise the back end of it some more so that it would be high enough. Well, that's what the whole point of DumpMate. So you don't have to do any of that. You just hit the button, you switch a lever, so it goes from the hydraulics go from lifting the bed to dump to just lifting the entire trailer up so that it's high enough for you to work out of it with the MulchMate. So there's that's pretty cool. There's also the front section in front of the actual dump bed itself of the trailer, up to the tongue of the trailer that you hook up to the back of your truck. There's a whole platform with a ramp that you can drive up your mower that has a cartmate on it, or your top dresser machine or whatever up on there, your buggies, whatever, you can put them up on there so you can take them to the site with you and have the mulch, because that's the number one thing, right? People are like, okay, well, I've got a dump trailer. How am I going to get my equipment? I mean, you can get wheelbarrows and stuff. You can strap those to the sides of the dump trailer, put them up on the top of your truck, like whatever. You can do all kinds of stuff with the wheelbarrows and pitchforks and shovels. That's easy enough. But you can't do that with a mower and cartmate, or a top dresser machine or any of those kind of things, or a buggy. What are you going to do? Now you have to have a separate truck and trailer to trailer your equipment over, which means that's two separate guys now driving two separate trucks and setups, or you have to trailer everything ahead of time. Like, okay, if you just have a dump trailer, and you have ramps or whatever, load all your mowers and things up in there and trailer it to the site and unload it and then go get the mulch. So, there's a lot of different steps there. That's always been kind of an issue for people, I know, from hearing about it and seeing it. Well, again, DumpMate resolves that. So a lot of cool stuff there, a lot of great things. I have seen, if you want more information, you want to look at this stuff, go on the website, mulchmate.com, I believe it is, or just easily click the link in this episode's description. It'll take you there fast, and you can use code LCR and get discount on all the different things that they have that I mentioned, and more. There's other things that are there that aren't really mulch specific, but they're still great tools and resources, basically accessories, add-ons to your mowers that you already are using. So keep using the same mowers, but just keep adding some things onto it to make your jobs more efficient and easier. So you can save on any of those things by using code LCR. So you can look into that, check that out after this episode's over, in the episode description there. And you can, he's got lots of cool videos and testimonies and things there. You can see all this stuff in action. It's really cool. And like I said, I own TruckMate and CartMate. I strongly recommend those two things. MulchMate, I don't have a dump truck or dump trailer to use MulchMate, but if I did, I would definitely be looking at investing in that, obviously over the TruckMate, because I would have the bigger unit to have to be able to utilize the MulchMate. But since I have the smaller unit, then I get the TruckMate. Works just the same, just as efficient, just less mulch coming through. You got to fill up a little bit more often, obviously. But like I was saying, I have a lot of smaller jobs that are closer together, so we can get a lot done with 4 yards, and before we have to go fill back up and get another 4 yards, So versus having a big dump truck or dump trailer with 10 yards or something, or having it dumped on the street. But I do have those too, so we have a variety, and we get it done. We utilize all the things that I have that makes our job a lot easier. But no matter what, we still end up having to do something. We still end up having to use a wheelbarrow, or we still end up having to scoop. So I think the ideal setup, the best setup right now, currently, because of what Dawson Manufacturing has created, is having a dump mate with the mulch mate attached and a cart mate, at least one. I mean, if you got a lot of people and a lot of mulch to spread, a lot of properties, then, multiple cart mates, but at least one cart mate, mulch mate, and a dump mate, and you are set. You're set. Because you can put, I don't even remember how much, I didn't look this up in advance, but I don't remember how much mulch goes into the dump mate, trailer itself, but I know it should be at least 10 yards, I'm thinking. That's kind of the average, with if you put sides up and whatnot, which this already is built with high sides, specifically because it's for mulch. It's for mulch, dirt, gravel. It's for material. It's to haul material and convey it out through MulchMate into whatever you're conveying it into. There's even an attachment he came out with to extend the conveyor so that you can literally, if you've got beds like right up along the street that are really close, instead of wasting the time, conveying it into a wheelbarrow or a cartmate or something, you can just convey it right into the beds as you're slowly driving along, pulling the trailer or your dump truck. And just, you just have a remote in your hand, which the TruckMate comes with a remote as well. And you just can in your truck remotely spread the mulch out, convey it out into the beds as you're going along. Now you're probably going to want to go back or have someone come behind you and smooth it all out. Obviously, may give it that finishing detail, but you're in that situation, you're bypassing the whole middle thing of using something to move the material from, to convey it into, to then move it like a wheelbarrow or a cartmate. So that's epic also. So that is really the ideal situation, the ideal setup. If you've got a dump mate with the mulch mate versus a dump truck with a mulch mate, because with the dump truck, you could, I guess, hook up your trailer, your regular trailer, and have all your equipment on there, and then still have all of your mulch in the dump truck with the mulch mate. I would say that's a close second right there, because what are you going to have to do? You still have to unhook your trailer when you get to the location so that you can then use your dump truck, right? Like, so that you can get the dump truck where you need to, if you want to back it up into the driveway or get it closer to another section of the property or whatever, meet some guys to, convey stuff into their wheelbarrows, cart mates or whatever. You're not going to want to keep dragging your trailer around with that. So you're typically unhooking the trailer. Yes, you don't have to dump. So I guess maybe technically you don't have to unhook the trailer because you're conveying from the sides of the mulch mate. So you're just standing there on the side. So I guess technically you don't have to, but it might get in the way. Like I said, if you need to get into the access the driveway, like a lot of us do, we usually back the truck or trailer that has the mulch in it into the driveway to get it closer to the back mulch beds and things like that. So I just feel like, that's super close, but I think first is still having the dump mate with the mulch mate and a cart mate. Because you can, like I said, put the cart mate on the front of the dump mate trailer. You have your mulch mate on there. You can get your 10 yards, maybe more of mulch in there. So you don't ever have to dump it in the street and scoop it or anything like that. You avoid everything. No more scooping, no more wheelbarrows, no more back and forth trailering, multiple trips because you can't get all of your equipment in the dump trailer or whatever. It's all with you. You pull up one-stop shop. You go get your mulch, fill up your trailer with mulch. You've already got your cart mate on there, your top dresser or whatever you're using, in the front there, and you just pull up to the property and you just get after it. So to me, that's the ideal setup. That is a baller setup. It's an expensive setup, but it's an investment. If you have enough jobs, enough mulch every year contracted that you got to get done, and you have a hard time, especially trying to find guys to get it done, this thing is a one man band. It's a one man show, right? Really, like you can really knock it out all by yourself if you really had to, with barely breaking a sweat. I mean, let's be honest. If you're not pushing wheelbarrows and walking all over the place, you're not breaking a sweat until you stand there in the mulch bed spreading it. It's really that easy, that simple. So, and yes, you can save with LCR for the dump mate as well. So with the code LCR. So, a lot of shameless plugs there, but I mean, I just want to help you guys out. I've been there, done that. I'm going on my 9th season, I believe. I lose track now. I think it was 8 last year, so going on 9, whatever. I was doing a year part-time too. So at any rate, been doing it a little while. I'm not necessarily a rookie anymore, even though I call myself a rookie for life. I'm always trying new things and exploring, experimenting, learning, and so on. But there's some basic stuff like cutting grass and spreading mulch that are pretty second nature by now. And I've done a lot of things, a lot of setups, seen a lot of things. When I first started, I had a 5. This is how I'll end the episode, the evolution of my setup, to give you guys some sort of perspective that maybe are just starting out, or maybe you've been doing it a while too, and you just haven't thought of something. Maybe I said something that just gave you a little inspiration or an idea or something, then some sort of value, then you're welcome. And I'm glad, because I that's the whole point of this. But I started with a 5x10 open trailer. I would put some mulch in. Actually, I super started without a trailer. I just had a super started. What does that even mean? I really, before the trailer, started super basic, I guess. Maybe is what I was trying to say. I don't know. The F-150. The Ford F-150, and I was putting I think I would get 1 yard. I had was 5.5 foot or something, maybe a 6 foot bed. It wasn't an 8 foot long bed by any means, but it wasn't a short bed either. So whatever that is, just a regular bed, cab and a half or whatever, wasn't a crew cab, wasn't a single cab, whatever the heck it is, extended cab, something like that. It had the bench in the back so people could technically sit in the back seat, but it wasn't a back door, a full back door or anything. Anyway, so that just so you can visualize that was my first truck. I traded in my Jeep Compass for that F-150 when I quit retail management and went into lawn care and landscaping at the time, until I just focused just on lawn maintenance. And I used F-150 the first year. The first spring, this time of year, before I even invested in a trailer and a commercial mower, I just had nothing. I had a few tools from home, some rakes and shovels, an old pitchfork that I think was someone let me borrow and eventually let me keep. and, push mower, hand trimmer, a trimmer and a hand blower that didn't come in handy at all for anything before grass cutting season. But that was my startup setup before I got anything commercial. And I just would get, like, I think 1 yard of mulch was all I could fit in the back of my pickup truck. But I just got after it. I tried to find those small yards, and the yards that needed, 2, 3, 4 yards of mulch. I just took 2, 3, 4 trips back and forth from the mulch yard, getting mulch and just shoveling it out into my one wheelbarrow that I had, my one single wheeled tiny wheelbarrow at the time, my homeowner wheelbarrow. And that's what I did. I didn't even edge like I'm sorry. Shame on me that I started that way too, by edging. That's another story for another day. I've got some episodes out about that, I believe, and on YouTube about marketing and Facebook and how I, started my business and utilizing those things and route density and all that really started off. And in that story lies in the whole mulch and lawn edging scenario. But so I did edge beds. But I wasn't pricing correctly. That's for sure. Let's be honest there. I mean, who really is, unfortunately, when they first start out in this industry, unless they already came from another company and they were privy to the pricing, or they have a mentor, a peer, a mentor in the industry, in their area, that gives them accurate pricing. Like, hey, you should charge this for this and that for that. If you don't have those, you don't have any clue. You have to learn trial and error, unfortunately, and you end up being the part of the low baller club, and you don't even know what that is. So it is what it is. You hopefully live and learn fast and adjust your price accordingly. So I was underpricing, using the truck bed of my F-150 1 yard at a time, shoveling out into my little wheelbarrow. At least I had clean edges, though. I got that, I had that down from, day one. Before basically the season even started, I was doing that. Again, that's a story on other things there. You can check that out. Other episodes. But so that's how I started. Then I quickly, when the mowing season started and I got a bunch of clients, I got up to 30 clients. Again, that story is all part of the edging services that I provided and Facebook marketing and all that episode. But I had 30 something weekly mowing clients, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to be able to get this done, even though I'm full time now and I quit retail and I have, all the time in the world. I mean, it still gets dark, right? So there's only really so much I can do, and I do want to spend time with my family. I want to make up for lost time after all the craziness of my retail schedule life and everything like that. So I do want to have some sort of a life. I don't want to work 7 days a week from sun up to sundown, even though you really kind of have to do a version of that when you're first starting out your season. You're first starting out your business. You got to do whatever you got to do to get it going. But I still want to try and keep some sort of checks and balances. So at any rate, I knew that I was going to need a more efficient setup, commercial mowers and a trailer, obviously, to now transport that mower. So I got a 5x10 5x10 open trailer and a walk behind mower, 48-inch walk behind mower and all that. But so then I went to utilizing the 5x10 trailer, put some wood sides up on that, not taller than the sides. I just put the wood sides up so that, or not much taller, I would say. Basically, they were to keep, because it was an open trailer. Like, it didn't have mesh sides or anything like that. So, I mean, if you put mulch or dirt or any material in there, it would just literally fall out the sides. So I had to put something there. So that's where I started my whole wood side trend. Just get some plywood strips and kind of covering up the sides. So this way I can keep the mulch in there and put a tarp over the top of the mulch, because the mulch would always be up above the sides anyway. And it was single axle. I'm sure I maxed that thing out. I didn't bend or damage anything. I ended up selling it eventually many years later when I got my enclosed trailer. I sold it for, a good amount of money. It was a great trailer in great shape. I fixed and repaired and recolored a lot of things, and it was good to go. But I also took good care of it anyway, so there wasn't a ton of things that I had to do to it. The trailers really maintain their value anyway. So that was my next evolution of mulch, was just shoveling out of my 5x10 trailer. I have no idea how much mulch I was able to get in there. I don't really remember. If I had to guess, is obviously several yards, probably 4 or 5 yards of mulch I could probably get in there. Maybe 3 or 4 yards. But then I stumbled upon a place where you could rent trailers, dump trailers, landscape trailers, which were dual axle, bigger trailers. I think they were like 6x12 or something, which is a lot better than 5x10. Already had metal sides, right? Like 2 foot or whatever, 4 foot maybe metal size. It was a landscaping trailer. It was meant to haul material. It didn't have a dump bed. They had dump trailers too, but I didn't get those at first. I wasn't using those for mulch. I wasn't thinking about that. They were smaller anyway. They weren't 6x12. They were, I guess, the smallest dump trailer you could possibly get. So that just didn't make sense to me. So I was using the 6x10 dual axle landscape trailer. So then I was able to get like 5 or 6 yards of mulch in there, I think, don't quote me on that. And I was probably maxing that out too. So I was renting that. So a couple of seasons would go by and I would rent that for a few days at a time or a week or so at a time and try and get all my mulch jobs done in a couple of weeks. Or just really, it was just kind of sporadic. I would just try to, it wasn't the same time frame like it is now before mulch. I just kind of did it whenever people wanted me to do it, which was, oh man, again, been there, done that. And I'm not doing that anymore. But I would try and like just, schedule, like they would come here and there and everywhere. And when I would get more than one, I would just try and hold off and tell them that I'd wait, I was going to wait till whatever time and try and get them all scheduled together so that I could rent this trailer for a couple of days and knock them all out in the beginning or end of the week or whatever. So that was my next evolution there. Again, still shoveling into the wheelbarrow. I think I upgraded to a 2-wheeled wheelbarrow at that point. So then I had 2 of them, but one had 1 wheel, which is smaller, and I can get in, like I said, into some tighter areas, back of the beds and so on. So less back and forth from the wheelbarrow to the mulch bed. And then I had the big one with the 2 wheels, which is a lot easier because you're not now balancing all the weight of the mulch as you're going all over the place with it, up and down hills and around corners. It's a lot easier. You can literally use one hand moving it around because the 2 wheels balance it out, and it just makes it a lot easier to move. It just kind of transfers the weight a lot better. So I had that, and then I just eventually, like literally, I think the year before, so 3 years ago, the year before last. No, so last year I had TruckMate. The year before that, I was just shoveling out of my truck, and the year before that was the last year that I was using those landscape trailers. I was renting those for a good couple of years, wasting a lot of my profits on that nonsense, but you do what you got to do, whatever. It's a good resource if your trailer breaks down and you need a temporary trailer. They had enclosed trailers and those landscape trailers. So I'd see a lot of guys driving around with those, mowing lawns or whatever, because their trailer broke down or whatever happened. Just like if your truck breaks down, and I see a lot of rental trucks out there pulling landscape and lawn care trailers because you got to do what you got to do. I've also done that, had to do that before because my F-150 finally started breaking down after several years, and had to keep the show rolling. So I would rent like a U-Haul pickup truck or whatever and hook it up to my trailer and keep getting work done. But so that's the evolution of my mulch. Like I said, where I am now. And then I just went back to where I started and kind of worked my way back up to where I am now, filled in the middle there. And that's kind of been the evolution, of I think a lot of people that I've seen. A lot of people go through the whole dump trailer and dump truck thing. That makes a lot of sense. You can lift it up and dump it in different spots if you need to save trips. And, instead of walking all the way to the back of the trailer or dump truck, you can just keep tilting it up and the mulch will just keep kind of falling down closer to the end so you can scoop it out easier without having to keep climbing in and out. So definitely better there. It's progress, right? But I mean, Dawson Manufacturing revolutionized the game. I mean, they're selling mulch mates like crazy. They can't even keep up building them as fast as they're selling them. It's craziness. So definitely look into that. And now with mulch, with dump mate, I really think that's the best 1-2 punch right there. So you guys should look into that if you're looking to upgrade your mulch setup, or you're just starting out and you're looking to figure out what is the best setup. I think that is the best setup, the most ideal setup currently. Who knows what'll happen in the future, but man, it's great to be in a time like this where there's so many innovative people that have been in this industry. Nick Carlson had a landscape company in Maryland for a long time, multi-million-dollar business. He sold it, went all in on Mulchmate and all these other amazing mulch tools and products to make our jobs easier, more efficient, so that we can make more money, increase our profits. And all because he had a vision and a dream, and he went all in, and that he sold his business, like I said, and went into creating all these things through Dawson Manufacturing. So thank you to Nick, and, thank you to everyone else that has been doing. There's a lot of other folks like, Wyatt, also over there in Maryland with a nice sized lawn care business. And he came out with the ramp rack, which I have, but that's also a topic for another day. I'll probably talk about that again coming up this spring when mowing season starts. I already have a dedicated episode where I went to Ramp Rack's headquarters and hung out with Wyatt and got him on the podcast and talked about the whole origin story of the Ramp Rack and all that. So if you need to know about that, you know what I'm talking about, you can go search that in my podcast, check that out, type in Ramp Rack and it'll pop up. Same thing with YouTube at Lawn Care Rookie. You can get a visual and see what it looks like. I've got several videos of that. They even got a playlist for that. But that's just another example of another guy in the industry, in the trenches, in the field, saying to themselves, there's got to be a better way. And they went out and they created it. So that's awesome. What a world we live in today, guys. Let's think of that. Think of those positives. I know there's a lot of other crazy things going on in the world, but let's focus on the good things. Don't ignore those other things because we don't want to be naive and get caught off guard. We want to be responsible and helpful and be part of civilization, but don't let it take it away. Don't get distracted from what needs to get done and from the positive stuff. And then the fact that we are in an awesome time right now when it comes to entrepreneurism, innovation, and just, community, camaraderie, having a great time, lots of potential and opportunities to make a good living, doing something you enjoy, supporting your family, and just getting after it. So I hope you guys are getting after it. 2022 here. It's the beginning of the year. It's March now, but still young in the year. Hope you guys are getting after it, crushing it. If you're already in mulch season, I hope you're crushing it. If you're going to be getting into mulch season, I hope you crush it. So thank you guys for listening. Thanks for the Toro Company to sponsor the LCR Media podcast. And until the next episode, guys, this is the Lawn Care Rookie signing off.
This has been an LCR Media and Mr. Producer production.